This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
The last thing they saw was someone they trusted. You're tuned in to Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski, featuring retired FBI special agent and chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, Robin Dreeke.
I'm Tony Brueski, and today we're unpacking the latest developments in the high-stakes legal saga surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. It is a case that has been filled with twists and turns, but none quite as explosive as the testimony that we are about to explore. At the heart of these new revelations is Courtney Burgess, a man who claims to possess what could be some of the most damning evidence yet, a collection of 10 or 11 gigabytes on a flash drive allegedly handed to him by Kim Porter, Diddy's late partner. These drives, according to Burgess, contain footage involving not just Combs, but 8 celebrities, with some of those individuals allegedly being minors at the time. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The federal government, known for its deliberate and cautious approach, called Burgess to testify before a grand jury. Let's think about that for a moment. The feds don't bring just anyone into that room. Grand jury time is precious, and prosecutors don't waste it on flimsy, unvetted claims. The fact that Burgess was invited to present his evidence suggests there's at least some credibility to his allegations, or at the very least enough to warrant closer scrutiny. But this is where we enter murky waters. Federal investigations operate behind a thick veil of secrecy. You're not going to see a press release saying, yep, Burgess was legit. We got the tapes. In this arena, everything is tightly controlled until an indictment is solid enough to bring down like a hammer. That leaves us, the public, speculating, analyzing, and, well, connecting the dots. And let's not forget the psychological game being played here. Just the claim that video evidence exists shifts public perception. We knew it existed with him in the home, but private video coming out from Diddy's dead ex? Even if the tapes haven't been shown to the world, the mere idea adds weight to the accusations and raises the stakes for Combs. The court of public opinion starts leaning one way, and suddenly the walls around Diddy's once untouchable empire feel a little less secure. But what exactly happens when this kind of evidence is presented to a grand jury? Do jurors watch the footage themselves, or is that left to investigators and prosecutors who then report their findings? This process is anything but straightforward, and today we'll dig into how these legal mechanics work, what it means for the case, and why federal prosecutors once more are moving forward, and they only move forward when they're confident that they've got every piece in place. So what does this latest testimony mean? It is the smoking gun that changes everything. Is it? That's the question. Or just another piece of the puzzle that's being assembled? Let's break it down and get to the truth behind the headlines. Joining me is Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program, and also author of a lot of books, including this brand new one here, Unbreakable Alliances, a spy recruiter's authoritative guide to cultivating powerful and lasting connections. And it works good even if you're not recruiting spies. Trust me, he's an amazing author. I'm so happy he's here with us. Robin, let's talk about this. It's not like we're going to hear from the Fed saying, yeah, it's true, he's got it. We got it right here in our possession. Until an actual superseding indictment were to come down, we're just going to have to kind of wonder, I guess, if this is real. But the fact that a federal grand jury listened to him, I mean, I'm assuming they vet a little bit before you bring somebody in for the grand jury just to make sure that nobody's wasting their time.
You would think so. Yeah. I mean, I've never sat a grand jury, so it's not my area, but typically because of, again, when you're dealing with a volume of investigation that they're going to do their best to not waste resources and time to bring someone in that's not credible. The only pushback, again, being the devil's advocate, is that saying you have video in this kind of circumstance does continue to sway that public opinion. Like even just you and I, we're having our own confirmation bias. So yeah, he must have that. Well, we're not saying that, but we're thinking like, well, if he's got video, it's just more damning evidence against Diddy. And so whether it's true or not, it's still adding to that public perception of wrongdoing. So I would hope that they did do due diligence and that they actually have seen the video, because that's what it's going to take. Because
at this point, had he not been sat in front of a grand jury and he just started claiming, I got this 11 terabyte video, and he didn't produce it, I don't think anyone would believe him. But the fact it was in front of the grand jury, this claim was made, that it would be there. How does that work in terms of a grand jury? Let's say they have this evidence. I mean, is a grand jury literally watching the video, or is that more so the investigators that are like, okay, we'll take it from here, we can confirm it exists, here's I don't know. How do the investigators handle that to go through if they do need to make superseding indictments? Does the grand jury actually need to watch this thing and go, yeah, it's real?
I think it's going to depend on case by case. Again, you're going to have to go to your lawyer experts on this one, because I think the grand jury just really weighs in. Because remember, they're not the investigators. They're just saying, do we have enough here to keep moving forward? Sure. It's the investigators that are going to be really the ones that are dissecting that. Yeah, and they're not even. It's interesting. They don't really do the dissection necessarily themselves. It's really governed by the prosecuting lawyers. Mm-hmm. Because the prosecuting lawyers are the ones that are directing the investigation. Because a lot of people think that the investigators are the ones leading the investigation. No, they're really the screwdrivers and wrenches of the lawyers, the prosecutors, for the investigation, because it's really them that are driving what they will need to indict. It's what they're going to need to prosecute and be successful in that prosecution. And especially when you're dealing at the federal level, these federal prosecutors, it's a very, very high bar. They do not like bringing a case before a jury or a judge, or even going for any kind of plea deals without solid, in their minds, 100%, we got this. And we can see this in these other cases that you and I cover. I mean, just look at Delphi or up in Boston or any of these other things that are handled by locals or states. These are not solid cases. These are kind of all over the place and haphazard to you and I as we're doing our due diligence, covering them. But when you start dealing at the federal level, federal prosecutors are so inundated with a lot of requests to bring things to prosecution that they're very selective on what they take. And also their bar is extremely high. That's why people always will criticize like the FISA court, on my side of counterintelligence, that it's just a rubber stamp, or the federal judges are just a rubber stamp. No, it's actually because a prosecutor will not bring something to the judge to sign unless it is like 1,000,000% foolproof, because you should see the process it goes through to even get there. So long narrative I gave you to kind of bring you back to that. I would think, because of the way the prosecution handles these things, that it would not have gone before a grand jury at the federal level like that without it being solid. Yeah, I would think so. And if that is, in fact, how everything went down, then I think there's probably a lot more weight on Courtney Burgess's material, including that manuscript, if it's going that far and if they're looking at it that closely. Not just, I mean, it's expected the Diddy camp is going to say this is bull BS and all that, right. But you had some people that weren't in the Diddy camp pointing that out, which also kind of made it go, okay, maybe this is one of those things that really just is slipping in here and somebody's making some claims. It's the law of probabilities, really. If you look at the number of parties Diddy's had over the years and the number of people attending those parties, the likelihood, even with NDAs, the likelihood of someone not being able to capture some of that against their will, against the procedures and policies of Diddy's, is extremely low. Of course it's going to be captured. And so that's what they've been hunting for. And also the feds don't do fishing expeditions. They don't throw something at the wall and see if it's going to stick. Yeah. They have it before they do it. And so I'm pretty solid that this is true and real what they have. Yeah. And that right there, what you just said, where they don't do fishing expeditions, that when I saw his name being brought up in that, I was like, oh, holy shit. Like I wasn't expecting him. Yeah. I really wasn't. I just thought this is somebody trying to make, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. If there's superseding indictments, which there likely will be, we'll probably hear about it. We can probably connect those dots to go, maybe he did have something. One more piece on this, and it's kind of lighthearted, and I think we could use it.
The diet. There was Diddy's 55th birthday the other day in prison. There was a short video that was released by his kids with him on the phone. It was just saying, thank you for wishing me a happy birthday, blah, 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 blah. But he was like, well, what did he eat? What did he get in prison for his birthday? And I got to say, I was expecting it to be, like what you see in the movies, like slop on a plate. But maybe it does look like slop on a plate. But I'm telling you, in text, it looks better than most of the things I have in my kitchen right now. So for breakfast, birthday breakfast, selection of fruit, oatmeal, whole wheat bread, biscuits, oven brown potatoes, spreads like jelly and margarine. They can also enjoy a breakfast cake. There's no description on what the breakfast cake actually is. Lunch, Southwest chicken wraps, chicken tacos, cheese pizza, 3-bean chili. Sides include green beans, rice, salsa, and coleslaw. And the meal comes with fruit. Dinner includes turkey roast with rice, green peas, gravy, chicken, or tofu rice with black beans and carrots. Typically no dessert on Mondays, which was where Diddy's fell. Okay, sounds lovely on paper. What does it resemble any of those items once it reaches a plate?
I don't know. All I'm thinking is, as you're reading through this menu, I'm thinking about my school menu growing up in elementary school.
It's better than that. And the thing is, a lot of institutions, a lot of schools and prisons in this country get their food from the same place. It's often the same stuff. It's just, one is portioned for children, one is portioned for inmates. So I'm like, it doesn't sound half bad, really. I'm like, it's more of a balanced meal than I eat most of the days of the week.
Except that everything you just described came out of one can. It got plopped on a tray.
That might be the difference. So as I'm sitting over here criticizing it, somebody will give me a picture of it. It looks just like a can. It looks like one of those canned cranberries, but it has chicken, tacos, pizza, birthday, breakfast cake in it, and God knows what else.
I'd want to see pictures of it.
Yeah.
For one thing. And the other thing too, so I do a lot of backpacking. Yeah. And I take a lot of backpacking food out with me, and it's got all these great descriptions too. It all tastes the same. It all tastes exactly. And I just got done reading another great book. As you know, I read too much.
Yeah.
This one's called Madhouse at the End of the Earth.
Okay.
And this was the one of the very first polar explorations for Antarctica. This was done on the ship called the Belgica. This is before Ernest Shackleton got trapped in the ice pack. So this is late 1800s, right around 1900. Belgium crew went down there, and they're even back then. So they had all the highest quality provisions at the time, all this great canned food. And they get trapped in the ice pack, and the first thing they did was they wanted to kill the cook because it all tasted exactly the same. They tried to vary up the meal. Well, we got this kind of packaged meatballs here. We got this, and this, and they said it all tastes like shit. It all tastes exactly the same. So when you're reading through Diddy's menu, I thought of my my elementary school menu that we used to get on a sheet and is on a grid for all the days because I'm much older, and it all read very beautifully, fruit cup parfait.
Oh, I remember that. I remember looking at that sheet on the fridge before going into school in the morning going, oh, that sounds great. And you're kind of excited, and lunch comes around and it's like, a really weird definition of pizza here.
And it was like the Geno's pizza. It was great though. It was a square, they had the cookie sheets, big cookie sheets,
big
square
rectangle.
pizza. You got a square pizza. And the only other thing that was ever good on that thing was the peanut butter treats.
I gotta say, I'd love. I've even Googled this. I'm like, where can I buy elementary school pizza from the 1990s? Because I enjoyed it, but it didn't taste like pizza. It was like a whole. To this day, I've never had anything quite the same. But it had a unique flavor, and the cheese had its interesting. It was like a different thing, like eating astronaut food.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because it was so cheap, and because I had no money growing up, so pizza was such a rare thing anyway, that any kind of semblance of it. And then you used to swap for it and try to steal people's pizza.
Yes.
Boy, what a digression we did. But yeah, from Diddy. But that's, so Diddy's day in jail. I'd be curious whether, and that was just normal standard fare for the prison that day.
That was the normal day stuff. That wasn't a holiday. That's just, I guess, your everyday. The only thing that was held back, some portions on Mondays don't have extra fruit.
So I would think, since we've never really heard great accolades about the menus at prisons, that it probably doesn't stand out as anything too awesome.
Probably right. I got to look up pictures of this when we get off because
it'd be good to have pictures
now. Welcome to the podcast. If you'd like to listen to an ad-free version of this episode and all of our episodes, then search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. That's our premium channel where all of our ad-free and advanced episodes live, all in one place. True Crime Today Premium Plus. Search it on Apple Podcasts and press subscribe. Even try it for 3 days free.
You're in the thick of a true crime saga, every detail sinking in, and then, wham, a commercial about something you couldn't care less about. It's like being served a microwaved dinner at a 5-star restaurant. But it doesn't have to be this way. Go for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. With True Crime Today Premium Plus, you get uninterrupted, ad-free episodes, extended interviews that dig even deeper into the muck, and early access so you can brag to your friends. It's like ordering the secret menu at a crime buffet. So, search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and savor every twisted detail without interruption.